Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh and today we'll be taking a look at Overwatch's 15th digital comic, Searching, in which we dive straight into the events after the infiltration animated short with Zarya, as she goes on a mission for Katya Volskaya to find the ever-elusive Sombra. Zarya has to question her deep-rooted feelings about omnics and the meaning of friendship to boot. I'll be taking a quick look through talking points and interesting bits of the comic, along with a little light speculation on what new Overwatch story and lore we may have learned from it too. Suffice to say, this contains massive spoilers. The link for the comic is in the description below if you haven't read it already, or head over to comic.playoverwatch.com as always. Please read it first if you haven't already, and then come back to this video to let me know your thoughts. Firstly, a quick summary of the story. After Talon's unsuccessful attack on Volskaya Industries in the events of infiltration, we see what looks like a direct follow-up conversation between Zarya and Katya Volskaya, CEO of Volskaya Industries, the family-owned company that has been at the heart of Russia's defence since the first omnic crisis. Saying she needs a friend rather than a spy, Volskaya asks Zarya to hunt down this person to bring them to justice, saying that they have something no one has had before which may help in locating them. Zarya travels the Overwatch world for weeks, not getting any concrete leads, until Volskaya puts her in touch with a hacker in Numbani. Disgusted at the place, Zarya discovers Link 17, an omnic she unwillingly teams up with, although she acknowledges its skill if nothing else. The two share information. Link's, for all his skills, didn't know the Sombra collective was a woman, not a collective, and as Zarya imparts this info, Link's reveals that he suspects Dorado to be the base of the collective from the Los Muertos-style Sugar Skull calling card that Sombra has left and the recent hack of Lumerico and Guillermo Portero, its CEO. Travelling to Dorado, the two get no help from Portero for reasons unknown, and Zarya and Lynx then hit the streets, finding no one willing to talk, as some see Sombra like a folk hero, attacking the rich and powerful and defying authority. Heading to a bakery we Overwatch lore fans will recognise, Zarya picks up a few doughball snacks before getting a lead from a little girl, Alejandra. While breaking into a building, Zarya and Lynx talk about Zarya's childhood and the first omnic crisis, as well as whether omnics can have emotions too. Before they can continue their meeting of minds, Sombra appears with her usual panache. Fighting with Zarya, Sombra taunts her while showing surprise that Volskaya, her friend, is not being very friendly and sending Zarya in such a way. Catching Sombra in a graviton surge, Zarya discovers that Volskaya has been lying to her, or, if Sombra is to be believed, certainly hasn't told her the whole truth about why she's been sent after her. We also discover Sombra's real name as Zarya whispers it to her in a threat. Sombra reveals that Volskaya's new technology has come from omnics, and that Sombra wants Volskaya still in power to be her ally in discovering something bigger that's going on that will affect everyone and everything. At Zarya's mercy, Sombra makes the point that she hasn't lied to Zarya like Volskaya has, and that the warehouse is rigged to explode in a minute should Zarya need a little encouragement to make up her mind a bit more quickly. Retreating with Lynx over her shoulder, we hear a conversation between Volskaya and Zarya. Zarya promises to keep what she learnt secret for the good of Russia, but admonishes Volskaya for not acting like a friend in lying to her. Lynx asks Zarya why she rescued him when she seemed angry at him before the face-off. As he asks her what she'll do now, Zarya seems angry and confused, both at Volskaya's lies and her confusion over her views on omnics. As she heads back to Russia, back to the front, she's clearly got a lot to think about. Here's some of the interesting things I enjoyed from the comic, and a bit of analysis too. Firstly, I found Volskaya and Zarya's working relationship or friendship in the comic quite interesting. In the first panels, it seems as if they don't know each other or they've not met in person. Zarya calls her chairman Volskaya, pretty formal, and Volskaya says, "May I call you Alexandra?" and Zarya is pretty humbled at this. Volskaya needs a friend above a spy. That's kind of a continuity from the Sombra infiltration short, when Sombra said that Volskaya could be her friend. The photo Volskaya holds of her and her daughter is a nice continuity touch as well. It's interesting that Volskaya can pretty much grab Zarya from the Russian military. Volskaya no doubt has quite a lot of clout in Russia due to the importance of her mech factory, but we assume it's not a state-owned company, a family company, we've been told before, and I suppose they supply the Russian government. For this mission, Zarya is a bit of an odd choice, as she kind of says at the beginning. Why does Volskaya pick her? Is it loyalty? Is it surety that she'll do what Volskaya asks? An interesting reflection at the end of the comic where Volskaya says, "To be honest, I didn't think you'd get as far as you did," which begs the question, does Volskaya realistically even want to find or kill Sombra? Was this just a publicity thing? The government sends a Russian hero to hunt down the attackers of Volskaya Industries, or something like that. Volskaya also gently lectures Zarya when she meets with Link 17. You must work with those you don't like to fight a common enemy, do it for me and for our country, which is a big foreshadowing of the reveal that Sombra makes to Zarya later in the comic. At the end of the comic, Volskaya shows surprise at Zarya's success, and Zarya is confused why it's all been covered up and no further action has been taken. To Volskaya, it's not so simple. Someday they'll understand, not just yet, with regards to why Volskaya has worked with omnics. Now, given Volskaya's reaction to Sombra and infiltration, it's no surprise that she asks Zarya to keep this secret. Zarya agrees but states friends shouldn't lie to each other, and therefore says that to Volskaya she is now Sergeant Zarya Nova, not Alexandra, inferring that they are not friends after all. Now at the end there, it's a little reflection of, or insight into Zarya's character perhaps. Is she a bit simplistic and naive? Is she not able to understand that there's more going on than what she was asked to do? Was she perhaps a little bit trusting to take Volskaya at face value initially? Or do we look at it positively and that she's a trusting person? Perhaps a bit of both? Either way, the friends do not tell lies at the end. Zarya is saying, you lied to me and we are not friends. Volskaya is perhaps the most powerful woman in Russia, so Zarya is pretty angry and pretty steadfast in her conviction to say such a thing to her. Next we have Zarya's world tour, as I like to see it as. She travels the world for weeks, getting a few frequent flyer miles in the process looking for Sombra. In China we see Li Jiang with the omnic gardener in the background there, a nice touch, the ramen shop in Hanamura. In London, the British would quite like some new mechs apparently, maybe the new ones from Infiltration, and I did like the detail of the policeman in the background ordering omnics in a line with all of these uniform coat colours, another little nod to the continuingly tough conditions for omnics in London or the UK. In Numbani we see Orisa and Ify in the background, perhaps doing a bit of training there, and I do like the look of this Jedi omnic on the right. It's kind of just such a Jedi robe there. After Zarya comes up blank, Volskaya directs her to Numbani to meet a hacker, and we meet Link 17 for the first time. Now, he's another omnic outside of Orisa, Bastion and Maximilian. Between comics and animated shorts, we've seen a whole chunk of omnic character development recently, which I think is really cool, given that they're a big reason, if not the reason, for why the Overwatch world is the way it is right now. Now, at the beginning we see that Link 17 scans Zarya's face, or almost lights it up with his 3 spots on his head. It actually shows what these might be for in omnics, a little bit of omnic anatomy there, if you will. We see a fair amount of character from Lynx in this first, albeit slightly frosty exchange. He's sarcastic. You're very observant. She didn't tell me you're observant. To Zarya's, you're a robot. She didn't tell me you were a robot. He's pretty quick-witted. Manners aren't your strong suit. Do you realise how rude that was when Zarya calls Volskaya right in front of him and says, you didn't tell me he was a robot? And an omnic also lecturing Zarya on manners, that kind of reflects and shows a chunk of Zarya's personality, or how she appears to people as well. Now, as Zarya wonders at Link 17's work, he says he couldn't explain it in a way that makes sense, and Zarya immediately, perhaps incorrectly, takes offence to this. Link's meant a non-hacker wouldn't be able to understand it. But he then responds with, your prejudice is duly noted, so maybe he's judging her as quickly as she's judging him. Later, when they find Sombra's location, there's an interesting conversation between Lynx and Zarya. Zarya is surprised that Lynx is afraid when he says, I'm disabling these protocols, we're not going to die today, as that is an emotion, and Zarya clearly thinks that omnics can't feel. Lynx then says, well, he's angry that she's killed a lot of omnics, she referred to that when they discussed earlier, and he's sorry for what Zarya went through. Lynx also shows his personality in a nice artistic touch with his ears, or whatever these projections are, on the top of his head. He's got a lot of different poses for them. The final debate they have before Sombra surprises them is a nature or nurture debate. Now Zarya says, oh, you can't feel that, that's just programming. And Link says, well, humans aren't programmed, you probably weren't born hating omnics. Now this is getting into the laws of robotics, philosophy and the philosophy of AI a bit. Whether robots or AI can ever feel will have to be a question debated for many years to come. But Lynx does make a fair point to Zarya there. Lynx also helps Zarya in the fight. He tells her that the translocator is being triggered so she can graviton surge Sombra, and sadly, he didn't detect the hack, as when Zarya turns around, Lynx is in a pile on the floor. Sombra has probably been watching them the whole time, or certainly watching Lynx. No one tracks me and gets away with it indeed. So Lynx, his hacking skills, well, he's good, but he's not Sombra good. As our buddy cops go to Dorado, we see Guillermo Portero again, and a little bit as to what has been going on in Dorado since the events of the Sombra ARG. We see Guillermo Portero, the CEO of Lumerico, back at work. Remember in Sombra's ARG before her release, Portero had to step down after Sombra leaked emails between Portero's Lumerico, the company responsible for the power plant in Dorado and across Mexico, and the Vishkar Corporation, with Sanjay, who we saw in Symmetra's Better World comic, and just maybe, speculation here, at the Talon High table in Doomfist's Masquerade comic. So the question is begged, was it a legitimate piece of business that Portero was trying to do with Vishkar in the Sombra ARG? Is he the victim here of Sombra really? He professed his innocence at the time, while Sombra hacked the Lumerico.mx website to make it look like there was corruption going on. Now, corporations and big business in Overwatch isn't all it seems. There's lots of references to it in various blogs, but Portero's position in it all, and Lumerico's, is still unclear. Vishkar aren't a great company to be doing business with, but whatever has happened, Portero's back in office and he's managed to clear his name. I'd love to know why or how he's been able to do so. Another question, why doesn't he take help from Volskaya or Zarya if they're both looking for the same thing? He says, "My people are looking for a solution." Is there a reason he doesn't want to join forces, or is he just sorting it out himself straight down the line? As Zarya's door-knocking in Dorado fails to pay dividends, there's a reference to Razin. Now, Stepan Razin was a Cossack leader in Russia who led a major uprising against the nobility and Tsarist bureaucracy in the 1700s, 1670 to 1671. Now, Razin has folk songs after him. He's not exactly a Robin Hood, but the comparison's broadly fair in terms of him attacking the rich to defy the Tsar. As we head to the bakery, we of course know this from the events of the animated short Hero. Now, a bunello is a fried dough ball type snack in South America. That's what Zarya's chowing into. As Zarya meets Alejandra and says that she'll be her hero if she tells her any information, it's a nice reflection on Alejandra's words to Soldier 76 at the end of the animated short. This comic is of course a big chunk about Zarya's character, as well as her journey of being prejudiced to try to find some kind of understanding or question her beliefs. Now, Zarya's omnic prejudice, well, we've seen it in her voice lines. Her bio story is that since she was young, she was brought up in conditions caused by omnic devastation around the first omnic crisis. They destroyed her remote Siberian village, the region was devastated by the conflict, and of course she's personally sacrificed. She had to abandon her dream of the World Weightlifting Championships because she came home to enlist when this second omnic recent conflict has sprung up in Russia once more. Zarya doesn't want food from the server in Hanamura, her skin crawls in Numbani, but working with Link 17 slowly chips away at this. She goes from the "you're a robot, she didn't tell me you were a robot," to being a little impressed by Link 17's skill. After them working for several weeks together, I really love this panel. It shows a bit of Zarya's character through one line. She sees their door-to-door questioning as the 100 doors a day being knocked on like lifting weights. Perseverance is the key indeed. I also love the little comparison of brute force. Now, to Link's a hacker, this is trying enough combinations to get the answer that he's looking for. For Zarya, her lifting physical brute force as well. It's just a really nice written panel with the little puns and wordplay there as well. When Lynx asks Zarya how many omnics she's killed, hundreds apparently, Zarya shows her feelings on omnics, destroying her village as we've said before. But she does accept Lynx's apology. It's not for you to apologise, you weren't there. Now that's already a big step on from her general omnic hatred we've seen in her voice lines so far. She distinguishes Lynx from other omnics she's fighting a bit there, or the omnics of the past, so for Zarya that's certainly some character, and perhaps personal development there too. It's pretty cool to see more of Sombra's character here as well. She rocks in, sitting there casually on the ledge with her usual sassy arrogance. Yes, me. Taunting Zarya, trying to have a bit of a conversation there though. Sombra's not actually there with her weapon out immediately. After Zarya attacks, Sombra is sharp in her replies. She clearly knows a lot about Zarya. She says, kind of elusive, like winning the Summer Games. Now maybe that's a little burn to Zarya about her having to give up her weightlifting dreams. She is genuinely surprised though, as Zarya threatens to destroy her. She clearly didn't know about, or she was caught unawares by Zarya using Graviton Surge as well. When Sombra reveals the secret that Volskaya's new tech comes from the robots that Zarya hates, this confirms what we may have suspected and I speculated from Infiltration and the Sombra Origin trailer, the conspiracy web that we see as Sombra tries to work out who came after her. Now, you may remember that Volskaya was linked to Numbani via a mysterious omnic and a core type blueprint that looked as if it was used in the new mix of Infiltration. I did a whole analysis on that Sombra conspiracy web. If you want to get into this huge complex diagram, do check out the video that I'll link at the end of this video and in the description below too. We also get the big reveal on Sombra's real name, Olivia Colomar. Now, this is interesting in terms of where this information actually came from. Unless Link 17 found it, and because we don't see it in the comic, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, then it has to have come from either Alejandra or Volskaya. Now when Volskaya says we have something no one has had before, at the beginning of the comic when she hands Zarya a datapad, I'm wondering if that's just the photo of her, or whether Volskaya is referring to Sombra's name as well. Now there's a question here. If so, then where did Volskaya get this from? Is there a hacker out there? someone as good as or better than Sombra, or has Volskaya got access to resources that we don't know about? It's interesting to think about these other threats or forces out there. There is another possibility, of course. One of Sombra's interactions on Dorado is that she should stop by the bakery because she's back home. Now, although Alejandra has clearly recognised Sombra's face and said something to Zarya that has led her and Link 17 to go and investigate the building they look at, I'd be incredibly surprised if Sombra, someone who's security obsessed, goes around using her real name. So I'd love to know where Zarya got this particular piece of information from. Well, after all this comic, we have the aftermath and what happens next. Clearly this has been covered up, or Volskaya doesn't want Zarya to talk about it anymore. Volskaya does say that someday people will understand that she was doing what she had to do in terms of working with the omnics, but that time is not quite yet. And for the good of Russia, it has to be a secret. Now, I completely get this. I think that if the Russians, like Zarya, discovered that the omnics that they are fighting, Volskaya is working with them to get technology, then there would be big questions asked, perhaps a lot of anger there. As Zarya at the end says to Link 17 that she's going back to Russia and back to the front, and after that she doesn't know what she's going to do, it's with good reason. The whole cause that she's been fighting for, her whole worldview in many ways of many years, has been shattered, probably as much by Volskaya's revelation or lies to her as by her experience in working with Link 17. She does want to protect people, she wants to protect her country, but she's probably questioning why or what for, and the lines are more blurred than she's ever known. There we go. Thank you very much for tuning into this analysis of Overwatch's Searching digital comic. Please do throw a like, subscribe, comment below with your theories, thoughts and questions. I'd love to know what you thought of this. I've actually reviewed and analysed all 15 Overwatch comics, as well as all animated shorts, lore blogs and so much more, so if you like Overwatch lore and story, do check out the playlists here. My regular series of Overwatch hero voice lines and interactions, Easter eggs and lore in general are all on the channel too. Until next time, I've been Hammeh, take it easy.